All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Sapling Edition of Charter Review candidates here at Evergreen Perspective. Joy to have with me today Adrienne Mason, who's running in District 1, Position 2, and let's just get this thing going. Tell tell us, the viewers, a little bit about yourself, your background, a little bit of what you do, and then sprinkle on how long you've been in Clark County.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hi everyone. My name is Adrienne Mason. I was born as a tiny baby. No, just kidding. So my my background is actually in nonprofit work. I've been working in the behavioral health field here in Clark County for the better part of the last decade and then some. Um, I actually am someone with lived experience, which is how we say in the field that I've sort of had in my own life's trials and tribulations, a lot of us have, that brought me into social work. I have a master's in social work from Portland State University, and I started doing in home behavioral health work and slowly over time kind of worked my way up in the field and found myself in leadership position after leadership position and got really deeply engaged in the community really over the last probably 5 or 6 years, which brought me to this point of running for charter. I had a lot of people saying, Adrienne, when are you going to run for something? We need you to run. You understand families in Clark County. You understand young people in Clark County. We need just a calm, rational sort of person to do this type of work. We'd love to see you run. And so the opportunity for charter review came up, and I actually sit on the board for a charter school. And I said, well, charter, that makes sense. I know charters. I had the opportunity to read over our charter for Clark County, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I understand this. This makes sense to me. And so here I am running.
Awesome. So I guess, you work in nonprofit and social work. Tell us a little bit about how you feel that's going to shape your role on the Charter Commission.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Charter Commission is going to be comprised of 15 people. That's a really large body of people whose job it is to work together and to come to consensus on what we are going to bring to voters to eventually approve. And social work, a lot of my work involved families and really complex family systems. It involved getting community together to care for families. And a lot of times, those were large teams as well, 10, 15 people who didn't all agree on what was best for a child or family or how best to solve a complex issue in a family. And so I have a lot of experience kind of working in large groups like that, coming to consensus. And I think, again, some of the work I've done in therapy, and not to say I'm going to like bring therapy to the Charter Commission, but a lot of the
I
skills
might
that
need it.
are like potentially a lot of the skills that you use, in therapy with folks are skills that help move conversation forward, help decrease, a lot of the conflict and polarization that we see in some of these bodies. And so I do believe that I bring that to the commission, which is going to be really helpful. I spent a long time actually rewatching a lot of the recorded videos of the last charter commission, and I think that some of that was missing. It was missing somebody to help organize, keep folks on track, and I think organize us from the beginning, from the onset, making sure that folks understand Robert's rules, right? This is the first elected position for a lot of us who are running. And on our charter school board, we do use Robert's rules, and that's something I'm super familiar with. And so I think a lot of those skills are going to be really paramount on the commission.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that communication piece is going to be paramount for whoever gets elected to the Charter. Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel the Charter impacts daily residents, right? We talk a lot about it. A lot of candidates talk about it on the campaign trail, this and that, but how does it really affect everyday residents in Clark County?
Yeah, I think the biggest way that this affects residents in Clark County is really their citizen right and ability to engage in the process. So the charter, as we know, is that foundational document that guides kind of how our county is governed. who's an elected official, who's an appointed official, how does the council and the county government, how do they relate to each other, whose job is who. And so it really is the backbone of how the county functions. And so this is a lot of the behind the scenes sort of things that make people's lives in Clark County is easier. And the charter is really, really strong right now. It's I think one of the reasons why a lot of folks in our community say, "What is the charter? I don't know what that is. I don't know how it impacts me," because it is working well. It helps the county to function every day. And so really sort of that backbone behind the scenes structure.
And so I guess for that piece there, how do you approach the charter commission, right? We live in a very heated, divided time. This is a nonpartisan position. How do we keep extreme partisan politics from oozing into the commission?
Yeah, you elect a social worker to sit on the commission to help with that. I think, it's difficult. On the campaign trail, we do see a lot of really partisan big ideas that can feel very, very divisive. And perhaps this is my rose-colored glasses, but I do think once we get into that room and into that body, there's 15 becomes a benefit, right? That's a lot of people to have to get to consensus. And I think that by nature, that is going to help some of the divisiveness in the room there. And then I think really engaging in conversation and for everybody to remain curious. That's one of the values that I hold, near and dear to my heart is when folks are talking about issues that they hope the charter can solve. A lot of my questions are help me understand what problem you're trying to solve. Is that the only way to solve the problem? Is the charter the way to solve that problem? And just staying curious and continuing to ask questions, which I think is going to be important for all of us who are elected.
Right. And with that piece, I mean, there's bound to be some pretty decent disagreements in the room. How do you handle, those disagreements, those differing viewpoints within that commission?
Yeah, I think really keeping it calm and simple, like respectfully, I disagree. These are my thoughts. This is why I feel this way, and respectfully, I disagree. I think it will be important for all of us to remember that this is about our community. This is not about personal issues. This is not about what Adrienne believes and what I think is best. This is about the folks that we represent. And so remembering what our job is, and our job is Clark County. It is the community. Mine is District 1. And so for all elected commissioners to just keep that at the forefront.
Yeah. So, I mean, are there areas of the charter that you're interested in specifically, or most interested in reviewing with the commission and the citizens of Clark County?
Yeah, super great question. I don't have a very particular place of interest, Ben. I see the charter as really strong. My position is to really protect the integrity of the charter as it stands right now. I'm a firm believer just because we can change something doesn't mean that we should change something. Change for change's sake is not necessarily great for anybody. It can cause chaos, and the county does not need that. We need stable, consistent, reliable leadership at all levels of the county. So, really protecting the integrity of the charter is my aim, and then really to help facilitate the process of those 15 people in the room.
Right. I like that approach. That sounds very level-headed. What do you think folks misunderstand about the charter most in the county?
Everything. I think folks don't know what the charter is. It's that the governing document, and they just don't know. And because it's not in their face, right? When we talk about policy decisions and making policy that is directly impacting something in somebody's lives. And the charter is not about policy. The charter is about how we make policy, about whose job is what. And so I think that is it's just not known to voters. And then messaging can be really confusing to things that folks are hearing out there talking about various things that people want to include or focus on in the charter, and that's just not within the scope. And so, unfortunately, I think it can be very confusing for voters.
Yeah, so I guess as we look to wrap up on this, what's the one thing you want voters to remember after hearing this podcast with you?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. I think just that this is our opportunity to elect folks who are level-headed and who are truly thinking about what's best for the county, for citizens overall. Electing folks who are not out to push a personal agenda, who are not really divisive in their politics. And let's get some level-headed, true change makers and leaders into the room, and I really, really want people to know that. I think the other piece is my my hope, if elected, is really to help increase education for folks in the community about how to engage in civics, how to attend council meetings, how to do public comment at council meetings. The power differential and barriers to that can be really, really intense for people. And I think having somebody like myself in, social work who's deeply connected to community directly to families here, having somebody to, hold your hand and bring you and say, this is how you do this, can be really impactful. And I'm hopeful to be able to do that if elected.
Like that. And so how can people learn more about you and your campaign? How can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Hop on your phone, give a Google. If you Google Adrienne Mason Charter Commission, you will find absolutely everything. My Facebook will come up. My website is votemason.org. Mason is my last name, Mason. You'll find all of my contact information there, and all of that goes directly to me. I don't have a bunch of people working for me. It's just me. So phone, email, or a web inquiry all goes directly to me, and I'm happy to hear from all of you.
That's awesome. Adrienne, I appreciate you coming on for the Sapling edition of Evergreen Perspective. And I will see you on the campaign trail.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.